What's going on, guys? My name's Theoatrix, and today I'd like to talk about a range of news that's been released about Oldschool. 8 minigames are being overhauled in hopes of bringing more players and more enjoyment out of them. Most notably, Jagex hopes to add a games room to the Grand Exchange. Also, the Shades of Morton minigame is looking at a huge overhaul with a variety of new rewards, including a wearable coffin and the new Bloodbark and Swampbark armor. Another large blog post was also released about Soul Wars coming to Oldschool. They highlighted some key changes that they've made and the proposed rewards from the minigame, including the new avatar pet. But before I get into those, I'd quickly like to talk about RuneScape's oldest and most well-known bot being officially shut down by Jagex. After legal proceedings, RSBot, which is also known as PowerBot, was completely shut down. RSBot has been around since 2006, and it's easily the most established bot out there for RuneScape. Despite being the oldest one, it's actually one of the least popular for Oldschool, so it's likely that we won't see much of an effect to the number of bots that we see in-game. RSBot was also home to a range of RS3 bots, which is probably why it was targeted and prioritized to get removed by Jagex. This takedown is of similar nature to the takedowns of the two largest gold sites, which were both taken in 2019. Both of these sites, though, simply rebranded and they're now back on the internet. So is this something that will also happen with RSBot? Who knows? Around the same time of this announcement, Jagex released a post regarding a number of proposed changes to 8 minigames. All of these changes are going to be polled, but I'm almost certain that pretty much all of these are going to pass because the community loves new and improved content. The biggest changes are for the Shades of Morton minigame. Currently, the minigame is only really played to complete the quest, and it's also played to complete the Elite Mauritania Diary. Literally no one plays it for fun or for the rewards, except Ultimate Iron Men for the Flamtea bag. Jagex is proposing to make large changes to the layout of the catacombs where you kill shades, and do a huge overhaul of the rewards. Currently, the rewards you get from the chests are trash. You get a range of low tier weapons and armor, and at best, you get a clue scroll. They're proposing to increase the overall value of loot that you get, and also add a range of unique rewards. There's the wearable coffin, which will allow you to store shade remains from the minigame, and it also looks like some pretty good fashionscape. There's the prayer robe set, which will look a bit like a buffed version of monk's robes. Jagex proposed a range of effects that these robes could have, ranging from bone saving, bonus prayer XP, overhealing your prayer points, and giving a very high prayer bonus with the full set. Fine cloth is currently an item that you can get from the minigame, and Jagex is proposing to make this cloth a crafting ingredient used to make split bark. It will require 60 crafting to start making split bark, and it's going to give similar XP to green dragon hide. So this cloth could become a fairly valuable and reliable source of income for those that play the minigame. They've also proposed to add 2 new types of upgraded split bark, namely Swamp Bark and Bloodbark armor. To create these, you take split bark to either the Nature Altar or the Blood Altar, and by combining the split bark with their corresponding rune at the altar, you get the new gear. These sets will give powerful magic effects. Swamp Bark will increase the duration of binding spells on the standard spellbook by 2 ticks per piece. This will add 6 seconds to the binding time of each spell with the full set, so Entangle will be able to bind your opponent for 21 seconds instead of 15, which is a longer bind than Ice Barrage. The Bloodbark armor will give a boost to the amount of hit points you heal from using blood spells, with an increase of 1.5% per piece. Normally, you heal 25% of the damage you deal with blood spells, so with each piece, that will go up by 1.5. These armor sets will also give fairly high magic attack bonuses, with plus 35 for the full Swamp Bark set and plus 44 for Bloodbark. They also have far higher defense bonuses than magic robes, so they'll be tanky magic gear. Jagex has proposed to add a games room area to the southwest corner of the Grand Exchange. This will contain the same games as the games room, but it's far more easily accessible. Currently, the games room is pretty dead for casual players. It's impossible to find a game with someone unless it's your friend and you invite them to come play. With a games area at the Grand Exchange, it will be a lot more popular and easier to ask players to verse you. Jagex would also like to add the games room games to all of the pubs around RuneScape. Last Man Standing is due for a lot of changes as well, including the addition of new maps and new loadouts. Jagex has teased an upcoming map, which is an abandoned wilderness version of Varrock, which I think would be super enjoyable to play on. In terms of the new loadouts, they plan to add a Zerker and Pure option to the minigame, so it's not always main account tri-breeding. These would be separate games and would definitely change up the minigame a lot. Jagex is also hoping to add NPCs to the Grand Exchange that invite players to come and play Castle Wars. This will be an update that's mostly directed towards free-to-play players, since a lot of them don't realize that Castle Wars is available to them. A lot of new players will see these NPCs and want to give the minigame a try. Barbarian Assault has a number of proposed changes, none of which are overly game-changing, but a few important ones. They're hoping to change the egg models to make them all different shapes, and this will allow colorblind players to distinguish them more easily. They're also proposing to remove some delays from certain actions and remove the blocking of tunnels in the minigame. Puro has a few proposed changes as well that are actually quite important. Jagex is hoping to add a 30-minute buff to your account if you access Puro through one of the crop circles around RuneScape. The buff will let you push through the wheat far quicker, which is currently a fairly annoying part of the minigame. They also plan to let Elnock sell impling jars for GP, and for anyone that's played on an Iron Man, you'll know exactly how tedious it can be to make your own impling jars when you run out. They also plan to add a range of new impling spawns around the RuneScape map, specifically in regions that you don't see many imps. The Oldschool team would also like more players to play the Trouble Brewing minigame, so they're planning to remove the Cabin Fever quest requirement and the 40 cooking requirement to play it so everyone can enjoy it. They'd also like to restrict the game to only be playable on specific Trouble Brewing designated worlds, which will definitely increase the number of players in each game. The last proposed changes are for the Ferox Enclave, and they aren't overly game-changing. Jagex is hoping to add an Enclave-only world, where you can't leave the Enclave, and this is in hopes to separate the PKers and minigame players to make the area less laggy. World 390 is a great example of this, where there's tons of people playing LMS and also a lot of people PKing. For anyone with a less powerful computer, this makes the whole area extremely laggy. In this same announcement, we saw a huge segment about Soul Wars in Oldschool. I made a video a few months back about Soul Wars and explained how it all worked, but I'll give you a quick rundown now. Two teams, red and blue, go up against each other to kill the opponent's avatar as many times as possible. The two team avatars start with a level 100 Slayer requirement, and with soul fragments, you can reduce that level requirement so that more players on your team can damage it. You obtain soul fragments from the Slayer monsters scattered around the center area, and you also get them from killing players that are holding them. So in this news post, we got a lot of new information about how it would work in Oldschool. The proposed requirements to play the minigame are 40 combat and a total level of 500, and this is done to combat against bots, which were a huge problem for the minigame back in the day. Each game will now go for 10 minutes instead of 20 minutes, and Jagex didn't give a clear reason why, but my guess is so that players don't need to set aside a full 20 minutes to play a game, allowing players on mobile and such to enjoy it as well. Zeal, the reward points for the minigame, are now given based on participation, and winning or losing the match has very little effect on the amount of zeal that you get. You now get zeal from killing players, burying bones, using soul fragments, and damaging the enemy avatar. Jagex included the proposed rewards for the minigame as well, and some of these are similar to back in the day, but there's also a lot of new ones. There will be experience rewards for every combat skill, including prayer, and the XP rates that you can expect from the minigame will be comparable to pest control. You'll be able to imbue items with zeal, with the same imbues that you can currently do at the Nightmare Zone, so things like rings and crystal items. The new Soul Cape is a proposed reward, and these are the long red and blue capes. These will have a level 70 prayer requirement to wear and will give a +8 prayer bonus, which will be the highest prayer bonus for a cape slot item in the game. The highest currently is the Ardoyan Cape 4, which gives a +6 bonus, so this new cape will be 2 higher. The Ectoplasmator is a proposed reward as well, and this item is similar to the Bone Crusher, but for ghostly creatures. This will give you prayer XP when you kill the monster based on the number of hit points that it has. Lastly, there's the Lucky Dip reward, where you can spend zeal points to get a random valuable, or sometimes a not so valuable reward. This makes the minigame a bit of a moneymaker for some players, and there's also a very rare chance to get the Avatar pet, similar to the Barbarian Assault Lucky Dip. This is all going to be polled, of course, but personally, I'd love to see a little avatar following me around. So what are your thoughts on all of these minigame changes and the proposed rewards for Soul Wars? I'm hyped to see the games room at the Grand Exchange. I think it would be a great way to meet new people and have fun with friends. I think the rewards from Soul Wars all seem pretty balanced, and I'd love to grind out for that avatar pet. So yeah, leave a comment down below on what you think should or shouldn't be added to the game, and also be sure to keep an eye out on the poll booths for when all of this is being polled. If you want to get yourself a gaming mousepad, be sure to check out my merch store. The Vorkarth design and farming design is currently on the way to the warehouse and should be in stock soon. So if you want one, you can pre-order one now on merch.theoatrix.net. The Fire Cape and Wilderness mousepads are in stock now and ship out on the same day as you order, as long as it's a weekday. So be sure to check out my merch store. The link is down in the description. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed today's video, and if you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe for more old school videos. Anyways, thanks for watching and have a nice day.